Bradford City have today confirmed that forward Nick Powell has signed a new one-year contract with the football club as young goalkeeper Zac Hadi heads out on loan. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 200 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below what are your thoughts on Nick Powell signing a new contract with Graham Alexander's side, and also young goalkeeper Zac Hadi going out on loan to National League North side Spennymoor Town. Now, as ever, the Tier 3 channel memberships are the best place to be for the most reliable and accurate Bradford City transfer and also contract news. Now, Graham Alexander confirmed today that the deal for Nick Powell had been agreed for a very long time. He just needed it to prove his fitness, and I reported that over 2 months ago. Yesterday, I confirmed that Nick Powell had signed his contract with Bradford City, because I've seen across a couple of the channels that there is still some doubts about my sources, even though I've been pretty much, I think I've been absolutely spot on with everything that I've said in this transfer window. I've been first to break everything. I was first to break this news that you can see on your screen now. I reported it like 1 or 2 p.m. yesterday. Obviously, it hasn't officially been confirmed, but I guess only time will tell with that one. That's obviously over on the main channel if you're interested in getting the most reliable and accurate up-to-date Bradford City transfer news. The article does then read, Powell extends Bantam stay. Bradford City AFC is delighted to announce Nick Powell has signed a new one-year deal at M-Bank Valley Parade. The forward played 14 times for the Bantams last term, scoring against Barnsley at Oakwell in April. Powell, 32, has returned to West Yorkshire for pre-season, and his impressive performances have earned him a new deal in BD8, scoring goals against Halifax Town, SV Gmunden, Preston North End and Salford City. After putting pen to paper, Powell said, "I am very happy. I had to get through pre-season and I feel I have earned the contract at the end of it. I am really happy to sign. I have probably been more professional over the last 5 years of my career because it is harder the older you get, but it's something I really want to do for as long as I can, and I am glad it is at a club like Bradford." Bantam's boss Graham Alexander added, Nick's decision to come back in pre-season and show what he can offer proved his desire to everyone here. We all hope he can continue to enjoy his football with us this season. I am sure his quality will be a great asset for us. Nick Powell will now wear the number 25 shirt. Obviously, he wore number 22 last season, but did sign pretty late on in the window. I think the season had already been going for 2 or 3 weeks by the time that Nick Powell did sign. I don't think 25 was available. I'm pretty sure Joe Hilton wore it last season, but I do think the number 25 is one that Powell has worn a fair bit throughout his career. I think it's fair to say Nick Powell has certainly won me over in this pre-season when a player misses pretty much all of their contract length that they signed for. Then obviously you are going to have some doubts about that, and in my kind of retained and released list I said I don't really think it's worthwhile offering Nick Powell a new contract. I thought for what you were getting out of him, I didn't think his ability was that good to only warrant 10-15 substitute cameos a season. I didn't think that was good enough, but he's come back in this pre-season. He's obviously looked a lot fitter, but he's also looked much better as well, and as I've said a couple of times in previous videos, he seems to be trusting his body a lot more, and obviously he's finished pre-season as our second top scorer. Only Will Swan scored more goals than Nick Powell. Obviously there's always going to be question marks regarding his fitness, and I think it's quite likely that he will pick up at least one injury across the full campaign, but if he can be available for maybe double what he was last campaign, that's obviously a big boost to Bradford City. I know Alexander had him training for 2 or 3 months before he even really considered him for selection, because he needed to be able to trust Powell again, and I think he certainly proved that in pre-season. He's earned that new deal, and say if he does get injured in like September time again like what he did at last season, we can't really put that down to much else. You know, you look at our strength and conditioning, our physios, it seems to have massively improved over the last couple of seasons. I think we've got much better at reducing muscle injuries. Obviously, there's only so much you can do about contact type of injuries, but in particular muscle injuries, it does, from the outside looking in, obviously I don't have the exact statistics in front of me, seem to be much better. So I trust our medical department to be able to keep Powell on the pitch. He didn't get a Graham Alexander pre-season under his belt last campaign. I don't think he was really involved much in Stockport's pre-season plans. Now he's been able to do that. Hopefully it can, I'm not saying allow him to play 90 minutes in all 46 League One games next season, but certainly contribute a fair share more than what he did at last campaign, and he's definitely proved his quality so far in pre-season, playing as that striker, and I think it is a good, worthwhile addition for Bradford City. With Beasley's availability, Powell is a similar type of profile at the top end of the pitch, but in terms of physical and all that sort of stuff, but I also think they're quite different in terms of footballers. Powell, maybe not as quick off the mark, but a little bit of a better technical footballer than Jake Beasley, and I can really see them two causing problems next season, especially if we go to a two up top and you have maybe Humphries and Nerfil on the wings and you're really going for it 4-2-4 and you got Powell and Beasley stood up front whipping balls into the box. That sounds like as a last resort all-out attack measure that could cause a lot of problems for oppositions, but Powell certainly won me over, and I am now delighted he has signed his new deal. Obviously, there isn't really loads to say about Nick Powell's season last year. We know that he really did struggle for game time, just 10 substitute cameos across the full season, not a single league start for him. I think the maximum he played in any game was 45 minutes, and that was the final game we saw of him for about 6 or 7 months in the first half away at Newcastle United, and that was again at the back end of September. We then didn't see him again until Wickham away, which I think was the beginning of April. That's obviously a long time for him to miss. I think he was, like I previously said, training in full training for 2 or 3 months before Alexander really did consider him, but just 223 minutes. Well, I think we all can understand that Nick Powell's kind of weekly wage will be on the lower end, but his appearance fee will be pretty substantial. I'm sure Nick Powell's not really playing for the football for the money anymore. You know, you see a lot on your social medias about, you know, Nick Powell being successful off the pitch, so I'm sure he's not really bothered about the money. He just wants to be playing in a successful football team, and if we can get even 1,000 minutes out of Nick Powell, that'd be 5 times what we got out of him last season. But I just hope that it doesn't become a similar sort of problem that it was last season, where we do miss him for such a long period and then we're scrambling around in January trying to find a replacement, and Powell's just kind of a last resort bonus. We don't really need that. We need players that we can get on the pitch for much longer than 223 minutes. He did score 1 goal in that time, didn't register an assist, but again, it's such limited minutes. I don't really want to judge him off of last season, because we've seen so far in pre-season he looks a much better player for me. And then in terms of Bradford City's squad heading into the 2026-27 season, which does officially kick off tomorrow at home to Rochdale. Now, my understanding is Nick Powell signed his new deal yesterday, so there's no problems around registration or anything like that. You would like to assume if he signed his deal, he probably has been registered by the football club. But similar to that, what we did with Reece Welch the other day, we can not press that button, we can press this one and now take Nick Powell away from being labelled as a trialist. There's no more trialists still in the squad. We are going to come on to Zac Hadi now. Obviously you can see here has gone out on loan to Spennymoor Town. Now I think he's going to get around 5 or 6 games under his belt, and I think there's actually more to be said here about Zac Hadi, because we've already gone through the striker positions quite a lot in previous videos, so we're not really going to go through Nick Powell again. You know, we've got some good options now at the top end of the pitch. But in terms of the goalkeeper department, obviously the big breaking news yesterday was that Sam Walker is set to join Championship side at Watford FC. Now, with Bradford City announcing this Powell news at 7:30, it wouldn't surprise me if Walker's departure gets announced at 6 potentially. I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding is that deal is going to go through, and Zac Hadi going out on loan was always going to happen. Graham Alexander has previously said that is what he wants for Hadi. So if Hadi has now gone out of the door, you would expect that it's only a month to ensure that he is getting that game time. You can pull them back off of youth loans, and you don't necessarily need to worry about sending him out on loan until January. If he doesn't play particularly amazing in the first 3 games, then he doesn't play again until January. So month by month, I think that'll get extended, like what happened with Ibbotson last season. And even if Hadi doesn't have an incredible spell, I know there's been talk a little bit on social media about Ibbotson hasn't really developed over the last year, but let's not forget Bobby Poynton's loan spells. They weren't particularly great. He couldn't get into a Farsi side that got relegated from the National League North, and look at how good Bobby Poynton is now. So some players obviously you can look at and go, well, them loans didn't really work out, and maybe Poynton is a bit more of an anomaly, but I think Spennymoor, it's a good move for Zac Hadi. Keepers, they break through a little bit later on. It's obviously much harder for them to get sub cameos like what you can get with any other position on the pitch. But again, it is now up to Zac Hadi to go out and prove his quality. Clearly, he's a player that the club believe in quite a lot, but he is now entering the final year of his deal, and he needs to certainly prove his worth. I'm surprised that maybe Halifax haven't come in for the likes of Ibbotson, and in particular Zac Hadi. I know Alexander said that he wants Ibbotson to try and break into the first team this season, but with Zac Hadi now officially confirmed, the confirmation of Sam Walker expected very soon. It might not necessarily go through before the weekend if we can't find, adequate cover. It is also my understanding that Sam Walker was going to be Bradford City's #1 going into next season, which makes that deal a lot more interesting, because I know there has been a fair decent amount of talk already on social media talking about the #1s, and since this news has come out, Simon Parker's done an article about Sam Walker potentially leaving Bradford City, and a lot of people are saying, well, if he's going to be back up at Bradford, he might as well be back up at Watford, because obviously that's pretty much 5 minutes around the corner from where he lives, isn't it? I don't actually know where he lives, but it's somewhere down south. It's all the same to us northerners, isn't it? But like I say, my understanding is that Sam Walker was going to be the starting goalkeeper at Bradford City this season. So it does then obviously beg the question, is another goalkeeper going to come in? I think we can say that's an absolute definite. Will it be a younger lone goalkeeper who's potentially going to come in and start if McCracken was to be Bradford City's #2 this season? I think it's maybe come a little bit out of the blue. I don't think the club were necessarily expecting Sam Walker to leave, but Ryan Sparks did an interview with Jamie Rayner and Louis Reynolds. It was about an hour long, and Sparks said, you know, you might see a few surprise departures and people going, well, maybe Pointer, maybe Sarcevic, but I think Sam Walker is maybe what he was alluding to there. But for now, this is the current Bradford City squad. Obviously, we've got a date here on Zac Hadi, because I don't want to forget when he does come back, and then we can put him back down here, or if that gets extended, whereas Tommy Lee has obviously gone up for the full season. But let me know all your thoughts down below on everything we have discussed in today's video, and if Sam Walker is to move on, who would you like to see come in and potentially replace him? But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me, and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 200 likes, as I said at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your thoughts on everything we did discuss in today's video. Nick Powell signing a new deal, Zac Hadi joining Spennymoor Town on loan, and also your thoughts on the expected departure of goalkeeper Sam Walker. Nothing is officially being confirmed about Walker, but certainly wouldn't surprise me to see that happen over the next week or so. But thank you all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Feel free to check out the channel membership scheme as well if you are interested in supporting the channel further. Have a great rest of your day though, and I'll see you very soon for another one.